Guys, it's been a moment, man. It's been a real moment, but we are definitely back again. Of course, let me organize these vibrations right there. I know for those of you guys that are new to these vibes, I just want to say I appreciate you guys. It's been a minute since I've been on this. This is actually the very first reaction, live interaction reaction on BrBpTV. So I'm gonna ensure that this thing is up and running and fully integrated right there. I also think I also need to set up a playlist for this live reaction interaction um, as well. So big up to you guys. I know you guys have been waiting. Might not even get as much viewers on this one since it's been a moment since I've done this. But I appreciate the 5 individuals who are in the building right now. Big up yourself right there and then. I'm sorry, guys. It's been a moment since I've actually been on this. There's also something that I'm trying to do when it comes on to this thing. So I'm going to revamp the whole thing right there. And it'll be interesting when I'm actually doing reactions. Obviously, before I start the reaction, I always give a little synopsis on what I want to do. One of the things that I want to do is to definitely do more podcasts. I think we have a target of 25 at least. Our goal for this year, 2025, is 25 podcast interviews right there. I actually have a number of them lined up. I think we have like about 10 individuals who are interested so far to actually do the live interaction reactions or the podcast. I would not know. I'm talking about the podcast right there, guys. So, of course, if you are in the building, I see there's 10 of you guys in the building right now. Don't forget to click the like button. I would appreciate that right there, guys. Click the thumbs up button. And of course, share this video out there all over the place right there, guys. I would have shared it myself, but I decided, not to do so since I am finally back to actually do my Sunday reactions right there. It has been hectic, man. Oh my goodness. I actually even missed one of the gigs I actually had to do up north in that regard. But of course, in this reaction, we're going to be doing reaction on the electoral reform United Workers Party press conference right there, guys. So that is something that I'm eager to find out myself. I have no clue what they're going to be saying, but I kind of have an idea as to what exactly they're going to be saying in that regard right there. Talking about the United Workers Party, guys, I remember that an individual known as Nano Greenaway, it has been brought to my understanding earlier today that he actually passed away. I'm not really sure exactly what he passed away from, but to his family and friends, sympathies goes out from the BrBpTV family to you guys right there. I know he was a strong supporter of the United Workers Party from my point of view, and I don't know if it had changed, but I know he definitely wanted more for his country. He left Dominica seeking betterment, and it seems like he was doing well so far. And I'm not really sure exactly what happened, but I know he was a supporter of the United Workers Party right there. So sympathies goes out to Nano, his family actually, and his friends as well. So yeah, it's very sad, brothers and sisters, when certain situations happen. I remember some time back they were giving some thoughts on him whether he was okay. I remember there was a video of him where he was dropping glass bottles, breaking bottles on the ground. And sometimes you just never know what somebody or some people are generally going through when it comes on to life in itself. Because life can be a trying thing sometimes, especially if you do not know how to navigate it, or where you feel like certain things should actually go forward and it's not happening and you're wondering why, And then I guess that sometimes can frustrate you into the understanding that you're saying, well, I try my best to do this. I am talking, I am doing this and that, doing this. And that's something I can actually relate to right there, because when it comes down to what should be. Today, I was actually having a conversation with a cousin of mine, and we were talking about reality versus manipulated reality. I think in the world that we're living in right now, there's a lot of manipulation going on. And we think because of so much manipulation going on, we think that that is actually reality, when that is not the case at all. Because reality is not bent on what humans have done and what this and that have done, but based off how things go, based off nature. And when we try to manipulate that with our own understandings of what we think things are, then that can sometimes bring frustration right there to not just people going through certain experiences, but generally everybody. Because what affects one person might affect other persons, or it might not affect you directly. It can also affect you indirectly. So that's the right there, guys. Sympathies definitely goes out to the Greenaway family right there. When I saw it, I couldn't believe it at first. I was like, really? He was an influencer. For those of you who don't know, Nana Greenaway was an influencer and very vocal, very passionate about wanting to see betterment in Dominica. So I just had to put this out there in that regard. But welcome to every single one of you guys. I see that there's 17 of you guys in the building right now. Only one like. Please click the thumbs up button for your boy, please. And with that said, ready, guys, we have a number of minutes to go. We just make sure that everything is up on par. Are you guys, well, nobody's in the chat. Let me see. Nobody's in the chat. That's crazy. So I have a number of persons watching. If you want to chat in the chat box, you can definitely subscribe to this channel and, of course, refresh the page, I'm guessing, and then you'll be able to chat in the chat box because we only have subscribers chatting on this here vibe. So, yes, guys, we're just waiting for a number of persons to come in. I see that there's 16 of you guys. 2 likes. Click the like button for me, please. Right there, guys. I wonder if there's a delay in this thing. Let me see. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Which can contain no. Customize. No, we're not going on slow mode. Videos differently. Yes. Okay, great. Yes, guys. So also share this video out there. 21 of you guys are in the building. So definitely click the thumbs up button for your boy right there. And then also, guys, if you want, you can definitely do super chats. If you want to make a contribution to this year reaction, you can definitely do so by sending a super chat. You can send a super chat in any kind. If you want to just send a super chat, you can just do that. Or if you want to, say something, it'll pop up on the screen or in the chat box right there where you can literally just say something, guys. Hopefully you keep it PG-13. I think the settings is for PG-13 because on my content, I try to keep all my content at a rating on PG-13, guys. That's what I try to do right there. So, yeah, just send a super chat, send some love, show some love, click the love on the chat box as well if you want to do so. And I will definitely be trying to do more of these vibes. One of the things that I wanted to do in 2025 is to actually do more live interaction reaction on BrBpTV. Obviously, you know that we have the reaction channel where we're going to be doing a lot of reactions as well as continued normal, but we're going to be doing more reactions on BrBpTV. Also, when I head back to the nature island of the Caribbean, whenever that is, I'm still not sure yet. Sure when yet, but when I do, I'm gonna be going crazy, guys. Because when I'm up here, I tend to do a number of things, and when I'm in Dominica, I fully focus on YouTube, so I can definitely get that in right there. I see there's a number of you guys in the building. Where are you guys watching from? There's 17 of you guys here. Where are you guys watching from? You can see so in the chat box. And of course, I would like to see what you guys have to say. Obviously, guys, this is a live interaction reaction. So you're going to be hearing me. Although you've seen me, you're going to be hearing me and seeing me. But also, I want to see what you guys have to say in that regard right there. Whether you agree with what they're saying, United Workers Party, whether you agree or disagree, what do you think can be improved in a time where we believe that the government of Dominica is trying to push their own agendas when it comes down to electoral reform. And I don't think that is helpful or, to the people's benefit at all in any way, shape or form when it comes down to electoral reform. So we definitely have to give your views on that. Guys, click the like button for me. Click the thumbs up button. Just click it right there. Let me see how much time we have remaining so we can start this stuff. You guys know I always leave a 10-minute time frame for individuals to come in. I know some individuals went to sleep who are in the United Kingdom. I'm sorry about that. I know we have a number of persons who tend to watch. I had to do this, guys. I had to do this. right now it's 8:30, so it's like probably 9:30 in a lot of your places right there. So I know persons might be going to sleep so that they can go to work on Monday, and that's fine. They can definitely check the reaction afterwards right there. But of course, I had to do this. I wanted to do it earlier, but I was not able to do so. Anyways, guys, thanks for tuning in to another vibrations, and of course, the 10 minute is up. Like I indicated before, don't forget to click the thumbs up button right there. And of course, with that said right there, guys, let us get into the vibes right now. Good morning, all of us are assembled here. Can you just please stand and short? Now, guys, if you're not hearing the audio to clear, it seems like the audio on MO News is light. But hopefully you guys can hear everything as it goes on right there. Let's continue. Also, guys, you need to also give your input as well. Don't forget to let your comments be known so that I can interact with it right there. Luella, big up yourself one time. Dominican Republic Massive is in the building. Good to see you live. Yeah, good to be back, man. Good to be back. I know it's kind of late in January since I started this reaction, but you know, better late than never, guys. Better late than never. But obviously, guys, we're gonna be continuing and going hard and steady. You guys know, most likely every Sunday we're gonna be dropping, and I think Wednesdays we're gonna see if we can try to do something on Wednesday or Friday. You know, but as time goes by, when more information comes in, I will definitely be pumping more. But big up yourself, Dominican Republic in the building right there. Where else are you guys watching from? Luella, big up yourself one time. Let's continue. If you guys are, like I indicated before, if you guys are not hearing clearly, let me know so I can bring up the audio on this thing right there. But I do not want it to sound muffled, okay? Amen, brother. All right. Doctor. Yeah, the audio is low. Okay, let me see if I can bring it up right there. It's also low on my end too, but I can hear it. It's just that it's actually low on their part. Let me bring up the audio. Everybody here will say something to the media. Is it clearer now? At this time, though, it gives me great pleasure to bring to the podium Ms. Shirley Savage, the Public Relations Officer of the United States Party. Is the audio louder right now?
Esteemed members of the party, members of the press, and the good citizens of Ghana, it has been over 3 years since the Prime Minister, Mr. Honorable Mr. Skerry, made a solemn promise to the people of Ghana regarding the electoral reform. This promise was not just a political statement. It was a commitment to uphold democratic principles and ensure fair representation of all citizens. However, today we find ourselves at a critical juncture where this promise remains unfulfilled. The UWP has consistently advocated for comprehensive electoral reforms that align with international best practices. These reforms are essential, not only for restoring public confidence in our electoral system, but also for fostering a political environment where every vote counts and and every citizen feels empowered to participate in the democratic process. These reforms are crucial in ensuring that our elections are transparent, credible, and reflective of the will. Furthermore, we demand fresh general elections following the completion of these reforms. The December 2022 elections were marred by allegations of irregularities and have been described as a sham by many citizens. It is imperative that we rectify the situation through legitimate processes that restore faith in our democracy. In addition to electoral reform, we recognize that there are pressing issues facing our nation. Rising unemployment rates among youth, increasing crime rates, and issues with the education and healthcare system. UWP believes that addressing these issues requires strong leadership and decisive action from our government. We propose creating government agricultural sector, increase police training to effectively fight crime.
Man, that bike noise was really loud, man.
And establishing the BrBpTV College as a premier learning institution. These initiatives will not only improve living standards, but also contribute significantly to national development. Team Dominica stands firm in the commitment to advocate for meaningful change in Dominica.
Guys, my audio is almost as high as it can go. But if you say not by much, let me see if I bring it all the way up. If I bring it all the way up, hopefully that will work out. Let's continue.
Electoral landscape. We call on all stakeholders, government officials, civil society organizations, and citizens to join us in this endeavor. Together, let us work towards building a more inclusive democracy where every voice matters.
I did not get her name in the beginning, so I'm gonna go back and then I'll go forward on this one.
Honorable Dr. Thompson, the political leader of the United Workers' Party, Honorable General Paris, Honorable Roland Charles, the Deputy Vice President of the party, and our Public Relations Officer, Ms. Shirley Sabroch.
Oh, Shirley Sabroch. Okay, so she's the PRO. All right, Shirley Sabroch or Shirley's Sabroch. All right, let's continue.
Thank you very much, Ms. Sabroch. We go along now, and I invite to the podium the Honorable Roland Charles, the Vice President of the United Workers' Party.
Good morning to the head table.
Okay, finally, it is finally back. Okay, we get the audio properly now.
Our political leader, Dr. Thompson Fontaine, the media, Dominicans, by and large. Good morning to you. The issue of electoral reform has been on the agenda for many years. We believe at this time it is fundamental that the necessary changes that have been recommended and that will be articulated.
Okay, I think the audio is much better right there. It had to do, maybe the connection with the mic and the camera was not connected properly, but it seems like it's connected properly now.
By the political leader when he gives his presentation, be endorsed, because we've been seeing and we have observed that there seems to be a twist to what is democracy. And we strongly believe it is time that these recommendations made by various business forums, other political parties, be embraced for the betterment of this country and moving forward. We see and we should know by now, when democracy is embraced, you get better voter turnouts. More people are enthusiastic about the whole process. You get better representation because it is of fundamental importance. So, my recommendation, and I know that the political leader will do that, but I have to say, for the record, that electoral reform with the changes that have been recommended by the various stakeholders be taken on board. We cannot go back into a next election without the basics. For example, our voters' ID. Just an example.
That's facts.
So, with these few words, I encourage every Dominican. This is not a one sided thing, this is for all of us. And this is for the betterment of the country, for the next generation, and that young people can be guided according to proper legislation put in place so that we have a country where democracy and the meaning of democracy is in our face.
Guys, one thing I always wanted to point out, I will definitely, when I'm back in Dominica, when they have these meetings, I will definitely be going to them right there. It seems like every time they had meetings, I either had to leave the country or I was coming back into the country on the date that they actually had it, which of course, by the time I would have arrived, the meeting over. But when I'm back in Dominica, I definitely want to definitely be part of this year vibration so I can ask questions. One of the questions I would have asked is, it seems like there's a number of times that they've been pushing for electoral reform, and what will be required to actually get it right there. We've been hearing, yes, we need this, we need that. Great, we know that we need proper electoral reform, but the question here is, how can it be done, especially when the government themselves are pushing their own electoral reform, which apparently, from my understanding, is not on the merit of actually, benefiting the free and fair process for the people of Dominica. So if they're pushing their own electoral reform, they can also say, we're pushing electoral reform too. They're pushing the electoral reform, United Workers pushing their own electoral reform. Who exactly has the right, um, 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 balance, so to speak, to actually create that fully free and fair elections, the most possible outcome for free and fair elections?
Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Charles. Now, I invite to the podium the Honorable Delbert Paris, or the Deputy Political Leader of the United Workers' Party. Honorable
Yes, I.
Paris.
I wonder, where did Clement go? Is Clement still part of the party? I know he received a number of job offers, from my understanding, but is Clement still part of the party? That's a question I would have asked right there, since he got replaced by none other than Mr. Delbert Paris, who of course is a good candidate. He knows himself, he knows what he's about, and I think he'll be a formidable individual to run within the party. So of course, kudos to Delbert in that regard right there, and of course to all the others who are on the panel. Of course, big up Lennox Linton, Mr. Lennox Linton right there.
Political leader, Dr. Thompson Fontaine, Mr. President, Honorable Lennox Linton, Vice President, Sir Ronald Charles, Gensec, PRO, members of the media, or guests who are here, and citizens of Dominica, good morning. I'll only be here for a few minutes, but I wanted to lend my voice to this conversation as a citizen of the Commonwealth of Dominica, as a concerned citizen, a parliamentarian, and a member of the United Workers' Party, on the pressing issue of electoral reform, an issue that we have been discussing in Dominica, which would seem now for ages, like we've been discussing it for ages. And I had an address put together here, but I got some inspiration on my way up.
Now, guys, before we get into the inspiration of Mr. Delbert Paris, YouTube is telling me that there's low latency on my thing, but on my stream it's telling me that everything is a-okay. So are you guys hearing me correctly? Or the one individual who's part of the chat, Luella, is my stream running perfect? Is it buffering? Are you guys hearing me clearly? Let me know that as well, so I can definitely make adjustments to that as much as possible.
listening to different people talk about the issue of electoral reform. And I wanted to bring just a tad bit of clarity to the issue. Because it seems that the conversation about electoral reform has been reduced to somewhat of a bureaucratic process.
Okay, guys, my thing is definitely back. It's saying that it's clear, everything is healthy. But you guys can still let me know in the chat box as well. Also, guys, there's 30 of you guys in the building right now. 3 likes I'm seeing. I'm not sure if this is updated, but click the thumbs up button for me, please. If you guys are in the building watching, click the thumbs up for me as well. Brandon Cole, I see you. I can hear you just as fine. Okay, cool. So everything is not buffering. Maybe YouTube just has an issue. But guys, click the like button for me right there. I see 28 of you guys now. But click the like button. I appreciate the like. I definitely do see the likes when they go up right there. So let's get these likes up, guys. And we have a number of times to be here. It's a 36-minute long video. So we have good amount of time. But click the thumbs up button for me as well. Let's continue.
Where we have reduced it to simply changing laws where individuals and people who are aligned to different political parties, incumbents and opposition, think that we're reducing this now to simply being about, if we change the laws, then I will win and you will lose. But that's not what democracy is about.
Nope, not at all.
And that's not what electoral reform is about. Electoral reform really is about ensuring that we create, endorse, rebuild, recreate, and reconstruct a system of electing representatives that will govern our country. Representatives that will abide by rules and laws and follow the Constitution, both in spirit and in letter, to ensure a fruitful future for the seniors and children of Dominica. That's what electoral reform is about. Electoral reform is less important to politicians than it is to farmers and young people and senior citizens who are looking to retire in a place where they can afford and have access to world-class health care. The young people who are looking for a future in the island of their birth. Electoral reform is important to them too. Because all of these things are affected seriously by the people we allow and we select to govern. So it behoves that the process of selecting representatives must be ethical. Mm-hmm. It must be transparent. Mm-hmm. There must be built-in mechanisms of accountability that allow people from all walks of life to feel that they are free to select the representatives who have their best interests and the interest of their children's future at heart.
Yep, facts.
We will spend a lot of time in the coming weeks talking about the legislation, going section by section and making recommendations as we have done as a party before. But why we are coming to the public and why we continue to look for the public's endorsement is because we want to remind everyone, not just from a political party's perspective, but from a national perspective, about the importance of having an ethical, legal system, free and fair, that allows us to select representatives that will govern our country.
Effective representatives, competent representatives, not just people who say, hey, vote for me, I'll do things what your mother and your father cannot do for you, I will do for you right there. We don't want you to do things. We want to be able to do things for ourselves. We don't even want our mother and our father to do things for us. We want to be independent of the fact to be able to do things for ourselves as a result of the betterment of the economy. Therefore, you need people in positions to actually run the economy on a competent standing. When I see the present leadership, brothers and sisters, and I look at what they're doing, even if they might not be good in their field, but at least they would have more responsibility on the basis of their degrees. Because, for example, when you look at the health minister, who from my understanding is actually an engineer, And when you look at the financial minister, who is actually a doctor, health doctor, medical doctor, it makes you wonder, why is this actually happening? Why are they putting them in certain positions that does not coincide with the actual study or operation of study right there? Why are they putting them in certain positions? And I remember reading something that indicated that they tend to take people out of the level of professionalism or level of competence that they have gone to school for. They tend to put them out so that these people would not be fully grasping the new position that they're in. And by that meaning, if you take, I'm a teacher or another teacher, if I'm a plumber and you put me in the position to do finance, I am here to try my best to do as much, understanding that I have in finance. But what I would tend to do, since you are the head of us, I will then come to you to try to guide me in what I should do. Whereas if it's plumbing, I would not need to come to you to guide me because that is my competence. So that is one of the things that the government has done to its own ministers, taking them out of the rightful competent positions that they actually should be in and putting them in positions that they most likely have no idea about or very little, or they know very little about. And that is what is happening in Dominica right there. So they tend to go to the person who is not even competent in the position, but they go to them for help and wonder, what should I do as a result of that person being there for quite some time? It's very interesting when you understand the psychology of what has taken place in Dominica.
We have key areas of contention. The voters list. There are certain criteria of eligibility that gets you on and off a voters list. Why is that important? Because we want to make sure that the people who are participating in selecting representatives understand why, and it affects them too. So it's not about disenfranchising anyone, but it is ensuring that those who are exercising the franchise have skin in the game. They live here.
Definitely.
The laws that will be passed here in the parliament affect them directly. That is why a clean voters list is important. The issue of ID cards and using biometrics. We understand the importance of biometrics, but why do we need biometrics in a voting system as we see around the world? Again, to ensure that the people participating in the process are who they say they are.
Facts.
And we're not skewing the process unfairly by voting twice and conducting other fraudulent activity during the voting process, because it will affect the way we live our lives the following day.
Yep. It would literally affect the will of the people. If somebody is only given one vote, yet still that person is able to vote 2 or 3 times, it literally affects the will of the people. So this is why clearing out the voters list is necessary, and also biometrics. I'm not a person that stands for biometrics, brothers and sisters. I'm not. I can tell you straight, I am not a person that stands for biometrics at all. But I understand why it is necessary right there. So,
Campaign finance reform. Why is it important to the ordinary Dominican? It is important because if our elections are available to big money interests, it disenfranchises an entire population.
yep.
Because likely the people who will be selected will have big money interests at the forefront of their priority list, as opposed to the needs of the people. We could go on. There are a number of other cases, other legislations, other points of legislation that are contention. But these 3 areas, I wanted to touch on them and to remind the people of Dominica that electoral reform simply isn't about partisanship and wanting to exchange power. And obviously,
It seems like it's some sort of beauty contest. Oh, I don't want you to win, so I'll do anything in my power to prevent you from winning, solely for me to win. Why? just to say, I win, I beat you. That is it, you know. Not in the merit of saying, I want to win so I can actually do things effectively for my people. No. Not in the merit of saying, I want to win because I realize that I have a lot to contribute to my country. No. It's not in the merit of saying, hey guys, the people are suffering. No. It's not on the basis of saying, hey guys, Dominica is full of potential and can literally become the bread basket or the food basket of the Caribbean and the world by extension. When I think of the coffee industry and what they're trying to do with coffee in Dominica and having it as a luxurious item, because obviously Dominica is so small, trying to better the quality of the very coffee right there in Dominica, not much is being done in that regard. We have foreigners coming to Dominica to try to help. And the Prime Minister, obviously, he knows about it, doesn't really do much. He can talk about it in, hey guys, we're looking at this plant, we're looking at the coffee plant in what do you call that again? 1 Mile. You know, doing this, hey, we have this and that. But when it comes down to the actual output of it, we are not seeing much from that at all.
When we actually get the electoral reform that we want, we have a lot of work to do on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
Electoral reform is not what's going to put you in office or take you out.
I think it is. Because, and if I understand where it's going with this, but I will have to say this, electoral reform is the pivotal point of what would reflect the actual will of the people. If the people want DLP to win, free and fair elections will definitely showcase that. If the people actually want the United Workers' Party to win, free and fair elections will definitely showcase that. Because it will reflect the will of the people. Now, to stay there is to actually do the will of the people on the basis that if you do not do the will of the people, you're going to get out of there. They're going to kick you out. The people are going to kick you out because you suck. You need to go. But if you are doing the will of the people, and the people seeing you actually working for them, obviously we know it's not going to be fine and dandy all the time. You know, there are struggles. The world is not perfect. People are not perfect. But you know, when people are actually doing things to actually elevate you and elevate the economy, I think that is where, you know, the pivotal role of actually doing things or showing effective representation comes in. Because the present government, he ain't it at all.
But a clean electoral system puts the people of Dominica first. Mm-hmm. And that's what we are advocating for. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Short and to the point.
Thank you, Honorable Delbert Paris. Now, it pleases me greatly to introduce to the podium the Honorable Dr. Thompson Fountain, political leader of the United Workers' Party.
Now, guys, a question that I just thought of right there. I'm thinking on the other individual who's a Marigot representative. What's his name again? I'm seeing his face. He have locks and stuff. I'm seeing his face. You guys know what I'm talking about. That individual, he apparently joined in with another set of group that just came up from nowhere. Another political allegiance. And persons were not happy with that at all. And you might say, well, Delbert Paris, look, he's talking on United Workers' Party. He's a senator in parliament right now. And he's speaking on United Workers' Party. I think the reason why there's not much of an uproar on that is because the people who voted for the Marigot representatives were also United Workers' Party people. The United Workers' Party people did not decide, hey, we're done with United Workers' Party and we're going to be voting for that particular individual right there. I'm seeing his face. How can I not remember his name, though? That's crazy. If you guys remember the Marigot representative, let me know that in the chat box as well. But the people who voted for him were United Workers' Party people. So therefore, that's why there was the uproar in that regard right there. However, on the merit of this, he cannot bring in anybody. There's no allegiance to anybody in that regard. He's just a senator. However, when it comes down to the Marigot minister, he is the one that people voted for. And he wants to give his allegiance to somebody else outside of the representatives or who these people align themselves with. So he's trying to take their vote to bring it somewhere else. I think that is the main issue when it comes down to that aspect right there. So I just had to point this out. Let's continue.
Okay. Good morning to all of you present this morning to the head table. Our President, Honorable Lennox Linton, our Deputy Political Leader, Honorable Paris, our Vice President, Honorable Ronald Charles, and our PRO, Ms. Shirlene.
Oh, he's the vice president. Oh, yes. There's the president, the vice president, the prime minister, the political leader, the deputy political leader. So, yeah, that makes sense. I think Delbert beat out Ronald Charles as being the deputy leader, right there. So, hey, that is what you call democracy. According to Thompson, who also indicated, and Lennox also indicated the same thing as well, indicating that anybody can come in, and if the people decide they're voting for you, they vote for you. I think that is truly what United Workers Party is trying to do in Dominica when it comes on to having effective democratic representation, or even just representation itself, because sometimes you don't need necessarily have effective representation, but the people vote for that particular person. I'm just thinking of a situation in Portsmouth where I know that person is not competent, but the person just went up because it's like, hey, look me there, let me try something, and persons were just voting for her because, you know, that's the person that they check in. They want to try to give a fighting chance right there to at least have it under her belt, you know. So yeah, that's all I'm saying on that one.
Tab Roach, as well as our General Secretary, Mr. Nicholas George. I want to thank all of you for being here, the assembled press, and a very good morning to the people of Dominica. We are here on a very critical juncture, a very critical point in the history of this country. We are on the verge of getting some type of electoral reform, and we want to warn that if this reform is not done well, that it will have lasting implications for the country and for the people of Dominica. Electoral reform is not an end in itself. Electoral reform is what will determine whether or not we have a government that is sensitive to the plight of the people of Dominica, or whether or not we have a government that continues to trample upon the rights of the people of Dominica and continue to take this country in the reverse direction. As part of our efforts to address this issue of electoral reform, which is ongoing, we've been at the forefront of the effort to make sure that the legislation that is put forward is in fact what we can all accept. We wrote to the Honorable Prime Minister on the 13th of January outlining the shortcomings that we saw in the legislation and making some very positive recommendations to fixing those deficiencies in the existing proposed legislation. So I'm going to read for you at this time the letter that we addressed to the Honorable Prime Minister, because it certainly is the position of our party.
Guys, I never understood, why is the very Prime Minister the one who is running the forefront on this? Why? You think the Prime Minister who's trying to ensure that he stays or becomes enthroned in prime ministership for the rest of his life, because he said he was going to stop, and look, he's back again. So he seems like he wants to enthrone himself in becoming prime minister for the rest of Dominica, or until his son becomes old enough for him to pass it on to his son. Do you think that the prime minister who has that understanding would ever try to have effective electoral reform where it'll give the people the chance to have a free and fair selection of who they want to represent them, if he, being the prime minister, wants to stay in the prime minister's position pretty much for the rest of his life? Do you think that in any way, shape, or form he's going to want to actually give that up? Really, guys? Really. So I understand that that is normal protocol, but why is it that if the very prime minister he wants to stay be like remain as prime minister is the one pretty much calling the shots on this whole thing right there? I do think that the people has a huge part to play when it comes down to saying, scared, we don't want that. But it seems like the people themselves don't even want to show up when it comes down to things that are gonna be liberating them right there. It's like I was just having a discussion a while ago, brothers and sisters, on the merit of elections. And one party was telling the other that you should not make noise of what is going on at present if you never voted. If you never voted, you should stay quiet. Because when you had the opportunity to make a change, you didn't even make a change. Therefore, if you did not vote, you should stay quiet. And I agree with that sentiment right there. A number of persons are waiting for other people to vote. And if it so happens that the government does change, then they want to be talking. Or if the government doesn't change at all, then they themselves are thinking with themselves, well, hey, well, that is what happening. That is what the people want. But you never put your pen to paper to say, hey, I do not want this. And I'm sure that there are thousands of people with that understanding right there. We already have an overinflated voters list. And if we have an overinflated voters list, then that means there are a number of persons in Dominica who literally do not vote at all. And then they expect effective change to happen. That, my friend, is insanity.
Honorable Roosevelt Skerritt, electoral reform legislation introduced to Parliament. We have reviewed the bills for the Electoral Commission Act, the revised House of Assembly's Elections Act, and the revised Registration of Electors Act, which were introduced in Parliament on December 16, 2024, intended to give effect to the long-awaited reform of our electoral process. The United Workers' Party believes that the reforms to be facilitated by the proposed election laws are inadequate and do not go far enough in ensuring fair, free, and credible elections in Dominica.
That's what I've been saying. I think I stated this in a previous reaction on the Mistakes Reaction, guys. It's like Skerritt saying, hey guys, you asked for the use of the radio station or the use of government radio station for you to do your campaign. Hey, yes, no problem, we can do it. But the people are saying it's not just you saying, yes, we can do it, but there should be consequences if you do not allow us to do it. So yes, they're saying, yes, sure, yes, we'll put that in the stipulations that people can use the radio station. But if there's no consequence to preventing or hindering people from utilizing the radio stations, if they have the money to pay, if you're preventing people from utilizing the radio stations, then there should be consequences that follow suit. Scare them, say no consequence. We'll just tell you, yes, come and use it. That's not how it works. I agree there needs to be consequences. Luella is saying power is addictive. Yeah. Power can also destroy. Especially when it goes up in your head. It can definitely destroy you right there.
We are therefore requesting an urgent meeting with you at your earliest convenience to discuss our concerns and to present formally our recommendations to amend the proposed laws in the interest of ensuring that they effectively meet the heightened public expectations of genuine electoral reform. For perspective, you will recall that in December 2014, the Commonwealth Observer Mission concluded that the general election in Dominica was free, but was not necessarily fair due to, and I quote, multiple instances of cheating and bribery, including the transportation of electors to the island to vote.
That's one of the reasons why it scared them throughout the case, or the DPP throughout the treating case. Because if the observers definitely say, hey, it was free, indeed, everybody had the chance to come and freely vote. Nobody was prevented from voting, but it was not necessarily fair because of certain issues involved in treating. That's what they saw. And therefore, this is one of the reasons why the government threw out the case, the treating case, or the DPP threw out the treating case. They observed the treating happening. There was a treating case before the court, and it seems like the DPP threw out the case. That's crazy. Crazy work right there.
And the apparent abuses of incumbency, including a lack of impartiality in the provision of public services, end of quote. In July 2022, the Caribbean Court of Justice, our highest court, admonished us about the importance of dealing with a tainted electoral process. Again, I quote, there remain areas of grave concern about how the process of these 2019 elections were conducted. Future elections in Dominica ought not to proceed with these or similar taints. Following the snap election of December 2022, the Organization of American States, the OAS Observer Mission advised, quote, it is clear that Dominica cannot proceed to another election under the current rules. It will therefore be essential to have a new electoral framework in place before the next poll.
The question here is, on the merit that scared them trying to push their own electoral reform, and the United West Party is trying to push the electoral reform that they believe will be free and fair, which electoral reform is actually going to be taking precedence? Now, the people of before stated, the OAS who observed, stated that the next election should not happen with the present electoral reform or election system. So, hey, great, wow, we got this. They put in their own one that will counteract the other one, and it seems like the one that they're making now under the Skerrit regime is even worse than what is there today. It's even worse because they're trying to give the government the edge, the present government the edge. Is that fair? That cannot be fair at all. Not at all, brothers and sisters. Also, guys, don't forget to click the thumbs up button. I would appreciate that right there. Let me see how much you guys are in the building. There are 33 of you guys, 32 of you guys in the building. Click the thumbs up button for me, please, right there. Click the like button. I would appreciate that. Anyways, guys, let's continue.
The proposed new and revised election laws do not adequately address the critical matter of removing the taints on the electoral process to clear the way for free and fair elections.
Yep.
Our main concerns, therefore, as follows. 1, a clean and accurate voters list. The constitutional right to vote is a right granted to citizens of Dominica and the Commonwealth citizens over the age of 18 who are resident in Dominica to vote for representation in the Parliament of Dominica. Persons voting for representation in the Parliament of Dominica who are ordinarily resident outside of Dominica is a violation of the constitutional right to vote and a taint on the electoral process for fair elections.
I always had my thought process on this, where individuals are saying, yes, guys, they need, persons are saying, if I live overseas, I should still have the right to vote because I'm Dominican. I don't think that is the case at all. So, with that understanding, guys, I believe it was Roosevelt Douglas. Roosevelt Douglas? Yes, Roosevelt Douglas. I think it was Roosevelt Douglas, Rosie Douglas, who indicated to us that they needed, or at least what could be set up is 2 additional constituencies. But then again, you know, Dominica has 21 constituencies which require 21 representatives. So maybe what can happen is we branch or bridge some of these constituencies. If we probably bridge 2 of them that are close, especially the smaller ones. Roseau, they say is big. So it has different sects, Roseau North, Roseau South, Roseau East, Roseau West, Roseau Valley. You guys know what I'm talking about right there. But so if they're able to probably bridge a number of the bigger territories that have less people, bridge them together, I think Lago and Portsmouth should be one. I think Lago and Portsmouth should be one. Marigot and Wesley probably should be one as well. You know, and a number of these come together, then we probably have probably 11, 12 constituencies, and then we can then probably do the additional 2 constituencies or 1. If we have 12 constituencies in Dominica, then we can actually have a third one, another one for the overseas voters. So we pretty much include everybody right there. If it's, you know, we have 13 13 constituencies, then we can add 2 more constituencies for the overseas voters. So we pretty much include everybody. That's one of the things that I thought that would make sense. And then I remember one of the individuals was talking about Roosevelt Douglas, who also had that sentiment for 2 of them right there. Somebody actually came to me and pointed that out to me as well when I was actually at the meeting in Roseau on the United Workers' Party ticket as well. So I think that would make more sense if you want to include everybody. Let the people outside say they want to vote, great. Or if they want to come or have it in Dominica, where these people come down from overseas to vote in these 2 constituencies or 1 constituency, depending on how much constituencies that are there in Dominica. You would need an odd number, because you cannot say you have 13 and put an additional 1, 14. Next thing you have 7 on that side, 7 on that side. It's going to create a level of confusion. So somebody has to win. Let's continue.
Yet, our electoral process allows for a register of electors with more persons than the resident population of Dominica.
Yep.
In order to have an accurate list of voters who are eligible based on the constitutional requirements of citizenship, age, and residency, there must be a total re-registration of voters and provisions for cleansing of the voters list annually.
Agreed.
Confirmation of registration as proposed, instead of re-registration that confirms the eligibility to vote, will not remove the taint of a bloated, inaccurate voters list open to fraudulent manipulation. The proposed new Registration of Electors Act, introduced in Parliament in December 2024, seeks to establish a system for electing a government that allows citizens living overseas who are not ordinarily resident in Dominica to choose representatives in the Parliament of Dominica for constituencies where they do not live and therefore cannot be represented. The new Registration of Electors Act also seeks to legitimize a system for electing a government that allows for citizens living overseas who are not ordinarily resident in Dominica to be paid to come home to vote to determine the results in constituencies where they do not live and therefore cannot be represented.
That cannot be right. That should never be right in the first place. How on earth do people in Dominica allow this to happen? How? You're allowing people to come in to vote in the country that you live in. Then they come to vote and then they flying back wherever they come out. To tilt the scale to the benefit, and sometimes, brothers and sisters, I think I heard an individual saying this, that they don't really care much about Dominica, but they're still coming down to vote. They're ensuring that Skerrit, they're voting for Skerrit to keep the people down. If the government decide to give them some monies, they're still coming down, take the money. The people of Dominica want to still vote for Skerrit. Hey, I come in and vote for Skerrit. Somebody told me that already, you know. And I know the person got paid. So it's interesting how people look at it. They don't really care about Dominica. Dominicans living in Dominica allowing people from overseas to come and vote to tilt the scale against their favor. And then you have a set of incompetent people running positions and you expect competence to happen. I don't get it. You cannot expect competence to happen with incompetent people. Therefore, the people must stand up and say enough is enough. I mean, come on, people. All you have to wake up, eh?
In our view, one way of addressing these particular shortcomings is to have a complete re-registration process, something which has been undertaken successfully in our neighboring countries. Number 2, voter identification cards.
Hold on. So if it is being done overseas, why can't Dominica not do it? Because the people, the difference between the overseas and Dominica, the people overseas want it. The people overseas want it. I remember watching a video of an individual in Dubai stating how is Dubai so successful? How is the UAE so successful? It's not on the merit of what the government or the individuals want, but it's also on the merit of the people. If you have strong people in society and it takes up the majority, they will force the government to do things on their behalf or they will change them out. It's simple. They have a competent leader. That is the whole point, brothers and sisters, especially when it comes down to democratic countries. You need a powerful people to ensure that you have a powerful government. And with the words that have been stated by Professor Lumumba, he said the people get what they truly deserve. Does that mean that the people in Dominica are weak-minded? If they are getting scared for the prime minister, they're getting an incompetent man or a man who's greedy. Does that mean the people themselves are also incompetent and are also greedy? Because they want for me. I want for me. What I can get for me, regardless of how society is going. If I get a $500 and my neighbor doesn't get a $500, I feel like I am better than my neighbor. Completely forgetting that you have the whole neighborhood that you guys are both living in facing the same consequence in the same neighborhood. I never understood that. But let's continue.
According to the recommendations of the electoral consultant, Sir Dennis Byron, quote, the introduction of voter identification cards to persons registered as electors supported with biometric data was considered one of the most important reforms by almost everyone. This was regarded as essential to eliminate or minimize a wide variety of fraudulent conduct at elections, including impersonation and multiple voting. End quote. The new Registration of Electors Act provides for ID cards to be used for voting with voter registration number and facial recognition as the only biometrics.
Scared ones, none of this. Because if you get this stipulation, especially when it comes down to voter ID cards, then that means people will not be able to vote multiple times. To the point where you wouldn't even need constituencies, brothers and sisters. Obviously, constituencies are needed for you to vote a representation for that person to represent that constituency. But with voter ID cards, you would not even need a representation. You know why? Because you can only vote once. You can only vote once. But of course, when it comes down to Dominica, you definitely need to vote within your constituency, and therefore you can only vote once within that constituency and not go to another constituency and vote under somebody's name and, you know, so forth and so forth.
We believe that to ensure certainty of identity in all respects, biometric or fingerprints must be used for voter registration and voting.
Like I told you guys before, I'm not a fan of this. Hey, okay. Like I told you guys, I'm not a fan of this biometrics and fingerprinting business, but I understand why it is necessary when it comes down to elections in Dominica. There's too much theft going on, treating, bribery, there's too much of that going on. So it needs to be done right there. My personal view on it, I don't agree for it, but I understand why it's necessary. And it should it be implemented? Absolutely. So it's not just me saying, guys, you know, hey, okay, yes, they say this, we're going for it. I personally do not agree with this biometrics business. But like I said before, I understand why it is necessary. And if it's necessary, it needs to be done despite what I think.
Number 3, election campaign financing. The campaign finance regulations proposed by the Electoral Reform Consultant for inclusion in the new House of Assembly Act have been set aside. So there will be no restrictions on election campaign spending and no regulation of sources of election campaign funding. No regulation of election campaign financing means money has controlling influence in our political system, such that elections are determined and or purchased by big money interests or criminal enterprises.
That's facts. Now, I know a number of persons, well, it has been stipulated, well, in most occasions, where the person with the most money ends up winning the elections. And that is solely on the basis that the people themselves are not educated. Solely. Because what can happen, because that person has 10 million and the other person has 2 million, that person with 10 million can decide, you know what, we're gonna give 3 million to each. We're gonna spread out $3 million to give persons while we also doing our campaign. The person with $2 million would not be able to give out money, and that should not be in the first place. But it tends to happen from time to time, especially when it comes down to Dominica. Even the last scam election that we had right there, persons were passing around $300 and $500 envelopes. Some of the people who were candidates, independent candidates, witnessed these things. They doing their campaign and this kind of things. There was even one independent candidate that came out and say that she didn't win, but she thanked God that she was there to at least give her people some monies. And it's not her that giving the money, but because she was campaigning, these people came around and were handing out envelopes to different people. So she's saying, I understand I did not win, but at least my people got something from it. So it's very interesting when you look at this. Look at this right there.
Number 4, election offenses, especially bribery and treating.
Mm-hmm.
The provisions against bribery and treating in the new House of Assembly Elections Act do not cover the payment of air and sea transportation for voters living overseas and the payment of free entertainment for voters. These stains on the electoral process have determined the outcome of elections over the past 20 years. Yet the new act does not have even a, quote, for the avoidance of doubt clause that the payment or promise of payment to a voter of his traveling expenses on the condition expressed or implied that he would vote for a particular candidate is in fact bribery. Number 5, abuse of incumbency. There is no provision in the new legislation to eliminate from our system on electing government in Dominica the use of state resources, such as public funds or government-operated facilities to support a particular candidate or party. The new election law does not address a lack of impartiality in the provision of public services and clear breaches of civil service staff regulations where public servants are openly, politically partisan and assist in the distribution and provision of government services and goods. Number 6, access to media. The taint of skewed or unfair media coverage that disproportionately favors one candidate or party over others, potentially influencing public perception and voting behavior, is addressed in the new act with provisions obligating state-owned media only to ensure that political parties and any independent candidates participating in elections have equal access during the campaign period. This provision, while excellent, should cover all media, and there must be penalties for failure to comply with the rules. Number 7, and finally,
Yes,
Electoral Commission, Chief Elections Officer. The Electoral Commission bill should, as recommended by the Electoral Reform Consultant, provide for a commission that represents the interests of civil society with members, both male and female, drawn from academia, the private sector, or an organization of religious bodies, raising the prescribed age for the meeting the office of CEO from 55 to 65. The importance of allowing the Chief Elections Officer to contribute accumulated knowledge and experience for a longer period cannot be overemphasized, especially given the complexities of managing elections and implementing reforms. And our letter ends again with a request to the Prime Minister for a face-to-face meeting. We have since heard back.
Guys, like I said before, I have no clue, no understanding as to why the Prime Minister is involved with the very process that he knows he does not want to lose. How is he involved? What is the point of the electoral electoral office and the electoral people involved in ensuring that there's some sort of free and fair elections, or how the rules of elections are being guided? What is the point of them? What is the point of the Electoral Commission, brothers and sisters? What is the point of the electoral people? I don't know. Dominica can't be real, please, for real.
From the Prime Minister, he indicated to us that he has a very busy schedule of travel, and as such, he will not be able to meet with us face to face, which we consider to be very regrettable, because this issue of electoral reform is one, as I said, that can make or break this country.
Yep.
We cannot continue to behave as if all is well in this country
It's
as far
not.
as electoral reforms are concerned.
My goodness, don't you guys see the economy? Huh? Don't you want somebody who's effective when it comes on to economy? Look at the economists there, right there, brothers and sisters. Somebody who's effective to actually run the economy and the economical affairs of the country properly. I'm looking at Barbados and what Barbados does to its people and putting the people first. Grenada puts the people first to ensure that they utilize their people, and then if they do not have the criterias, then they bring in other people from other countries to help. But they put their people first. In Dominica, they put their people last. Imagine that. The prime minister of a country, outside of the fact that he makes his children born overseas, making sure that his people come last place. If it have for all you, truckers say, hey lads, give us a little job now. Give us a little job to carry cement. Begging to carry cement. Last place, last kakarat. Okay, fine, come. While you make a noise, come. We call you carry cement once or twice a week. Or once or twice a month. The dregs. I mean, you literally seen these. It's sometimes, I don't know. Maybe sometimes we need to constantly point this out to you guys. Dominica is getting the breadcrumbs while they give the bread and the factory that make the bread to foreigners.
It's not. And I would like to encourage the Prime Minister to do the right thing. Quite frankly,
he will not do the right thing. It is in his better or best interest for him not to have proper electoral reform. This is why I keep asking the question, why is the Prime Minister involved in this? And you cannot say you go into the president, you know, guys. Because the president is also the Prime Minister's president. Bruh.
It should not be as difficult as it is.
Exactly.
Those reforms have been done in other countries, in our neighboring countries of St. Lucia, St. Vincent, Grenada. All of those countries have done it, and you hardly heard a whimper. You hardly heard anything about it.
Because and the prime ministers have changed. The prime ministers have changed. They've done electoral reform, and the prime ministers have changed. St. Kitts the same thing. They do electoral reform, and the prime ministers have changed. In Dominica, Dominica knows, the government at present knows that electoral reform will take them out, especially in a condition that they have sucked when it comes down to the economy right there.
Because the government acted in the best interest of the people of those countries. Yet in Dominica, we see a prime minister who is determined to continue to maintain his so-called winning legacy, which in fact and indeed is simply a cheating legacy.
Yep.
That's what we have. It's a cheating legacy. And he's trying now to enshrine the method that he has perfected over the last 20 years to ensure that it is not backed up by legislation. We cannot.
Yep, he's right. In studying how to win elections, he then wants to put that into the electoral reform. So he will just have a constant winning legacy forever. Even after he passes, he will still be winning. Brothers and sisters of Dominica, we need to wake up and ensure that that doesn't happen again.
Allow that to happen in Dominica. We should not allow that to happen. And the people of Dominica must stand up firmly and strongly to demand that this government does the right thing.
We know the government is not going to be doing the right thing. We know this. So the question here is, what next? I still personally believe that the answer resides in the people. But if the people themselves don't want it, what can be done? What else can be done? Of course, we know the court case that is taking place when it comes down to the monies. We're going to find out what that is. That obviously is not going to be, tomorrow we'll find the answer. Because research has to be done. They're linking up with all sorts of people involved in this thing to ensure that Dominica knows exactly what is going on. Persons from overseas came under the tracking of money laundering and illegal activities. They came to let Dominicans know what was happening outside there because they were not searching for Dominica. But on the basis of corruption, it led them to Dominica. And ignorance is truly bliss, brothers and sisters. And I don't think that is right for especially the innocent of Dominica or the future of Dominica in that regard right there.
By going to those issues that we spoke about and ensuring that when we come to the second and third reading in Parliament, that these wrongs, as we call it, that have been highlighted in the first reading will be removed. Let me assure the Dominican public that as a party, we will not stand idly by and see this particular piece of legislation go unopposed. We will continue to do what is necessary. We'll continue to do what we think is important to ensure that this is done. So whilst we will not disclose at this point what we plan to do in the future, but just be assured, we will not rest, we will not relent until and unless this legislation is corrected. This is a struggle, Dominica, that must be waged. And this is a battle that must be won. Mm-hmm. As part of our efforts in closing, or as part of our efforts to bring to the attention of the public what we are proposing and what is in the legislation, we'll be having a series of town hall meetings across Dominica beginning next Tuesday. So for those of you in the Roseau area, you're invited at 6 o'clock at the PSU building on Valley Road, where we will begin those discussions with you on electoral reform. Beyond that, we'll move the next few weeks to Marigot, to Castibros, and to St. Joseph, with others to follow. But just to let you know that we are taking this very seriously, and we expect that you will come out with your questions, with your concerns, but more importantly, with your support. And let me just echo as we end, that this is not a partisan issue. This issue should not concern just those of us in the United Workers' Party Team Dominica. This issue should concern every single Dominican. Because at the heart of our democracy, whether you have or live a good life, whether your children get opportunities, whether this country develops or not, at the heart of this is the electoral process. So if we're not able to take care of this electoral process, then we are failing ourselves. We are failing our children. We are failing our country.
Yep, I think more importantly, we are failing the next generation. Because I feel within myself, if I was in Dominica right now, I feel like my youth is gone. There's no hope for me again when it comes down to Dominica. But the next generation, hopefully something is done for them. To leave Dominica for me to organize myself, brothers and sisters. The people in Dominica are not able to do so, so I do not feel like I lost my youth. But the people in Dominica who stayed in Dominica definitely should feel like they have lost their years, especially when the government is working against them. So the next thing is for the very people to do things for the next generation or the next generation. Because I know it's not going to be easy to bring back Dominica, especially if Thompson them were to win today. It'll not take 5 years for them to build up Dominica. It will not. It'll probably take them 5 years or 10 years for them to build back Dominica to where it once was, and then to elevate it beyond that. Right there is another story. Within the competition, and the serious competition that other countries have already elevated, to then give Dominica. But I do think that Dominica's strength is involved in agriculture. It's involved in agriculture. So that's my take on this right there. Luella is saying one of the answers is to continue doing what you are doing right now. Educate your fellow countrymen. Sometimes I believe the fellow countrymen themselves do not want to be educated. Because sometimes you present the information to people. And I always say this on the understanding of intelligence. Intelligence is having your own biases and not fully understanding everything out there. But if on the basis that you have certain bias to yourself, and new information is presented to you that counteracts that bias that you have, and you change in that bias to suit the new facts and truth that you have found out, that is intelligence. It's not about knowing everything out there. But it seems like a number of persons don't even care to know the truth. They don't care to know the truth. And that, I think, is the big problem. Sometimes some people even know the truth and they don't care. I was talking to a particular individual, knowing the truth. If you know somebody is evil, why then would you vote for that person who is evil? If you know what somebody stands for is evil, why do you decide to put your vote towards that very person who is evil? Because sometimes it's not on the merit of people saying, hey, okay, I did not know. Sometimes we know and we still choose to do the wrong thing and expecting some sort of positive outcome to come from it. I don't understand. I don't understand. Let's just see the last minutes of what he has to say right there.
And so this is a cry and this is a call that we're putting out this morning for public support, so that when you're called, whether for a public demonstration, public agitation, whatever it is that we'll be calling for, we expect that you will be there in your numbers to support the efforts. This is about Dominica, after all. This is about our future, and we should not take this lightly. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, and God bless you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Thompson. At this time, I need to beg excuse for the Honorable Ronald Charles, who has matters at the court. So we're not only doing political matters within the United Workers' Party, he's still at work, and then he has to attend matters at the court now, because we don't want the court to sanction him. He has our, so we are begging you to allow him to rise now and to leave. And we wish him every success in a court matter. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, you've heard the political leaders' address. You heard the brief remarks from those who spoke before you. Now, it is an opportunity for those of you here to pose any question that you wish to anybody who spoke here this morning. Thank you.
I thought Lennox was going to speak too. But hey. But yeah, guys, we're not going to go in the question and answer phase right there. I just thought I'd just bring this information to you guys. I wasn't really sure what they're going to be talking about, but I know this is an update when it comes on to the electoral reform situation. So we know Scared Them wants to bring their own reform. The opposition has stated, hey, we do not like what you guys have on your stuff. We need to meet face to face. Scared say he traveling and all those kind of things that they cannot meet face to face. Interesting. A very pivotal thing that is, could decide the fate of Dominica, whether it goes in the positive direction or whether it continues to decline. The Prime Minister of the country does not want to apparently meet right there. So the question I would ask is, what next? If the Prime Minister doesn't want to meet, obviously they're going to be going back to the people. And if the people don't want to show up, what next? That is always my question I tend to ask. Right there, brothers and sisters. What next? Okay, guys, let me just end this right there. Thanks for tuning in. I know, guys, I did not have a lot of you guys in today. I think probably like 40 something of you guys came to this session right there. But next time it'll be better, guys, and I'll do it a bit earlier on. I think I came in about what, 8 something, well 9 something in Dominica time. So yes, guys, hopefully you guys understand the vibrations of why it's necessary right there. Dominica needs betterment, guys. That's the best thing I can say right now. Dominica needs betterment for it to finally elevate. Dominica used to be absolutely flawless back in the day and could have improved, but instead of improving its flawlessness, Scared Them came in. Well, the DLP team came in. Roosevelt Douglas them came in, and I guess they were not able to do much. And then Pierre Charles came in, I think he tried to do something in agriculture. And then Roosevelt Douglas came in. Roosevelt Skerritt came in and just literally just screw up the legacy. Hey. Anyways, guys, click the thumbs up button. I would appreciate that right there. Click the thumbs up button, guys. Subscribe for more vibrations as time goes by. For sure in March, we're gonna be going crazy, guys. I'm telling you, we're gonna be going crazy when it comes on to the podcasts and the live interaction reaction to this here channel right there. We need more vibrations, guys, and we're gonna be doing what we need to do in that regard. Anyways, brothers and sisters, hopefully you guys enjoyed the vibrations. I think 3 of you guys, or 2 of you guys actually, were in the chats. I appreciate you guys as well. Once again, click the thumbs up button, click the like button somewhere, wherever it is, down there somewhere, brothers and sisters. And of course, with that said right there, don't forget to subscribe and turn on that post notifications so you can get the latest vibrations when they tend to come through. Click subscribe, click the bell, and click all, and you'll be notified when I drop my videos right there. And then it's about me Slicks once again, guys. Be real, salute the king always. Be positive.